Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Let me throw this thing up here. Hold on, where is this thing? Where's the damn extension? There we go. 153 people. That's a good start to the stream. We're at a super chat here. What is the honest probability of World War III, or is that just all political hot air? Well, I think predicting World War III is a fool's gambit. I know what you're talking about with the India-Pakistan stuff, the Iran situation. There's a number of things that could create a hot situation in terms of war in multiple parts of the world. But there's no point in me predicting it. I mean, if we get like hot wars going on with Israel striking Iran, India, Pakistan, other things happening, Russia not giving into Ukraine, because now it's come out Russia does not want to agree to this deal, at least not right now. 58 seconds late. It's right on time. It's right on time. Come on. As long as countries oppose each other, there's a possibility. Yeah, I mean, there's always a possibility for World War III. Certain times are more probable than others, depending on the scope of the world in terms of hot wars going on. Sanders prank call. Yeah, the draft. So the draft happened this weekend, the NFL draft. I don't know if I know some people were talking about it in the chat, but Shapiro Sanders, Dion Sanders' son, he was projected to go. To be fair, some people had him going number 21, but some people had him going like as high as number 9 overall. He fell to, what did he fall to, the 5th round? The Browns took him. Crazy fall. I don't know if I've seen a fall that far. And then Mel Kiper just goes insane. And he gets pranked by college students. Shador Sanders did. They called him and they're like, we're the GM of the New Orleans Saints and we're taking you. And he thought he was getting picked, but it was a prank call. But yeah, to see him fall. And Trump tweeted about it. Trump tweeted out, he's like, well, Dion Sanders is a great man. He's got great family genes. Shador should be picked. I mean, Shador has some serious flaws, but I thought he probably should have went in the second round. It's been a boring Saturday. Yeah, it's been a pretty lazy Saturday, honestly. I'm going to have to turn this light on. Although, honestly, it's really light out right now. It's just really overcast. It's been overcast all day. Trump looks like he's disciplining a small child. Well, with Zelensky, this photo, yeah, he does kind of look like that because you see how he's leaning into him. Zelensky's like scooched up on his seat. But Macron was trying to be a part of this. They had 3 chairs, and then Trump told Macron to get lost. He's like, no, this is just a one-on-one discussion. But I'm going to react to something from Shapiro. Shapiro now has become a Ukraine simp because Zelensky gave him an interview. Jason Woodlack was mad at Trump's support for Sanders. Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me. Too small, too weak of an arm. Yeah, there's just too much. There's just so much with Shador that's like nobody wants to deal with all of it with Dion, and it's all a charade. So now the Browns, it's like Johnny Manziel 2.0. Is it really worth it? Will India invade Pakistan? If they do, would nukes be used? I don't know. I mean, hopefully that would be contained. That's been a long standing conflict between those two countries. Did you like Gabriel or Sanders? I don't think Gabriel's going to be any good. He's way too small. You can't have a quarterback that small and a lefty. And look, I'm a lefty too. But a lefty in the NFL, it's a hard one to swing. I know they've had success, but when you're like, I mean, Dylan Gabriel's like 5'10 and a lefty. So that's tough. When you're really short. What did Trump say to Zelensky? Well, I would imagine they're probably talking about the minerals deal and things like that, and just where they're standing, because Ukraine has agreed to a 30-day ceasefire. John Kerry, this was a funny clip. They talked about Putin annexing Crimea under Kerry, and he got real angry.
You were Secretary of State when Russia annexed Crimea, and I want to ask
when
you
they stated
they stated
we did not allow them to annex it,
right,
and we stood up against.
Well, no, if you didn't allow them to annex it, you would have physically stopped them with troops, right?
And then called it against international law. Yeah, they said it, but that
can I ask you
under
about
international law that does not make it theirs.
Can I ask you what you were Secretary of State when Russia annexed?
Ireland apparently doing a march. I think this is a march for like a nationalist type party, it looks like, with all those flags. You know, they call the homeland flags racist whenever you have a flag of your home. There was another post I saw where a lady on the news was calling, if you wave your flag, it's racist. Netanyahu can't drag me into a war with Iran. If we don't make a deal, I'll be leading the pack. I'll be ready to meet Iran's supreme leader. I mean, if this is true, that's great news. Yeah, ginger and a lefty. Yeah, and I got like hazel eyes too. Alex Jones had Nick Fuentes on. Yeah, I watched it. Alex is just, dude, Alex always interrupts. Whenever you watch those interviews, like the one with Myron Gaines and now Fuentes, but it's funny. If India and Pakistan used nukes, how would I be affected because you live in Well, I don't think you'd be affected at all. But I wouldn't worry about that right now. I wouldn't worry about India, Pakistan. That's a regional conflict. Glad to hear Trump say this. Yeah, hopefully this is true. He's basically saying there's no way we're gonna. Trump knows it would be a horrible look for his administration after everything to support another Middle Eastern war and kickstart it again after finally getting out of Afghanistan, possibly ending this Israel-Palestine situation. There's no right way to end it. There really isn't. I mean, we've talked about this a number of times. What do you do? Do you want to... I guess the only possible plausible scenario for, like, people to somewhat be happy would be a two-state solution, but then that's just going to create another war in a few years, you would figure. But I guess that would make more people happy. But I mean, at this point, how is a two-state solution even possible with all of Gaza destroyed? You're racist for having 1776 and stars and stripes tatted on your arm. Yeah, well, they'll definitely consider you like nationalist and like pro-white, probably is what people would think. Liberals, I'm saying. Putin is asking for too much in negotiations. It's possible. From what I've heard, he's even reluctant to even agree to have talks. So it's not going too well right now. But yeah, this is a seemingly a Putin problem. Ukraine, they have to be reciprocal, willing to negotiate this. They're losing men, and if they're not going to get reinforcements from NATO, which it's not going to happen, they're going to have to try and make a deal. And so I don't know where the minerals deal is. Shapiro said the minerals deal was signed. Look at this. This is just a total AI image. It's that judge. And you see, like, they were trying to. The whole judge thing came out where Kash Patel arrested this judge who was obstructing the finding. They were trying to find this illegal immigrant, and she was hiding him in her courtroom or something. I mean, it's just insane. But people thought this was real. Her mugshot. It's funny how people think like AI stuff is real. I just find it's just people are like, oh, that's hilarious. Like, imagine if that actually was her mugshot. But and they're trying to defend it. They're like, oh, this is fascism for Trump's doing. I mean, you can't do that. If you're a judge, you can't do that. You can't hide. You can't hide an illegal immigrant. You thought Israel owned the U.S.? Well, listen, I'll tell you what, if this is true and Trump agrees to something at the expense of Netanyahu, that's going to blow up in the face of people like Candace Owens, because Netanyahu and Israel clearly want a weakened Iran. And if Trump says to Netanyahu, fuck you, I'm doing this deal, I'm not going to be involved, I mean, that's a direct counter to what Netanyahu and Israel want when it comes to Iran. So look, if this happens, that would be very good for the administration if they were able to do a deal with Iran. I mean, you say, well, what is the deal? I mean, just the deal is we can't have U.S. involvement in the Middle East in terms of these never-ending wars. It can't happen, especially under Trump. It's like, oh, what type of deal are we going to get with Iran? Thoughts on the huge 100K? Oh, that's what it was? I was just showing that. Dublin. Yeah, I mean, that's... Maybe McGregor has a chance. No, I don't think McGregor's a serious player in Ireland. It's good to see all these flags, man. It really is. 100K they got. Wow. On a Saturday. This is really what these European countries should be doing on Saturdays with how their country is going in terms of immigration. You got to show up against it. Did you see Sneeko interviewed Kanye? I didn't watch the interview. You know, the whole Kanye stuff is like, I don't really care. But, I mean, I saw he was doing it as in a tweet. Tired of listening to people like Candace? Stopped a few months ago. Well, it's just this hive mind where everything's a conspiracy now. And you could really make anything you want a conspiracy because of just the amount of sheer information we have to pull from. It's interesting. But with her, it's just every little thing is a conspiracy, or it's not real. And then she said, well, I think she was saying she doesn't support Trump now because he's in bed with Israel. Well, how is he in bed with Israel? He's going behind their back to make a deal with Iran, a massive power in the Middle East, who Israel desperately wants weakened, and they're trying to justify it because of the nuclear potential of Iran. And if Trump does a deal with them, I mean, it's amazing. I saw Adam Schiff was on Bill Maher, I think. That was a clip I just saw. And he said he wished, and this is a correct take, he said he wished that Biden didn't do preemptive pardons. Preemptive pardons really should be illegal. Honestly, they should when you think about it. And the liberals are realizing that the precedent that you set with preemptive pardons makes it to where, I mean, Trump's just going to be able to preemptively pardon anyone that there might be a problem with in terms of the next administration, or it may not matter if Vance wins, but I'm just saying it's just a horrible precedent to set. Carney's huge rally at an airport today was 80% boomers, but apparently he got almost half the support of your nation. Record youth turnout in advance. Polls looking to defeat libs. Yeah, I mean, we'll see with that election. I mean, I'll be streaming it on Monday, man. From the looks of it, it looks like a liberal minority, maybe a liberal majority, but you've also got the new Democratic Party getting some seats. And so, you know, with their system, it just seems like it's going to be in the liberal control. Maybe I'll be wrong. I don't know. I'm not sure how accurate those polls tend to be. Newsom raised the gas tax as Trump went into office. That's why all the morons in California think gas hasn't gone down. It has. It's just been offset by the gas tax hike. That's all. It's what California needs is more taxes. But yeah, I mean, gas right now is around $2.99. The last time it was under $3 in my area. I mean, maybe it went under $3 like a month ago and then went back over. But you know, it's been a while. Probably since the pandemic when everything was way down. Yeah, definitely since then. That's the last time it was. Trump will pardon Elon. There's really no need to pardon Elon. I'm not sure what they would get Elon for, and he to me, Elon's too rich to be touched, I would imagine. Autopen should be illegal if you're. Oh no, I 100% I agree. Well, there should be no standard in the United States to where autopen is used to sign an executive order. That's a bigger problem in terms of just competency of the actual president. If you have a president and you're signing with autopen and the dude's constantly sleeping and he's at the beach, there's no way Biden should have been in office. He really shouldn't have allowed to have been in office because there's no actual cognitive test he was given. It was so obvious he wasn't there. You can never have enough support. They'll always claim, they claim racism with the coaches and everything like that. China is sneakily removing 100 plus American goods. They can't handle the tariffs. Are you talking about that they're removing tariffs on U.S. goods? I saw that, yeah. In certain sectors. I mean, we did something similar, though, with electronics. We deserve disclosure on Thomas Crooks. It's criminal. It took 60 years to release the files on Kennedy. I know. I mean, who knows? Because with Crooks, it's such a clear-cut patsy situation. And the reported 3 phones that he had to overseas accounts or overseas numbers. I don't know. There's something weird with Crooks. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot more to the story, but Trump said they were looking into it. You know how that works. It takes like 20 years for something to come out. But I don't know. With Trump in it, it might come out faster. Polls have underestimated conservatives' last 2 elections. They won the popular vote twice, matter of fact, but still lost. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. You would expect Poilievre to win. At least I certainly was expecting him to win until recently. And did you see that people that donate to Bill Maher's Club Random are called pay pigs? Who came up with that name? Where is Club Random? Is it on YouTube or HBO? I think it's on HBO. Was I frozen? Let me see. Yeah, I dropped some frames. But I'm going to react to this and see what this is, as long as it's all right. This is Shapiro after interviewing Zelensky.
Some of my big takeaways from the interview with President Zelensky. Did I get all of my questions answered in the way that I wanted? I mean, I can't say that all the questions were answered to my full satisfaction. I don't know where every dollar is going in Ukraine. I don't know that all my questions were answered with regard to, say, electoral problems in Ukraine or corruption problems in Ukraine. When it comes to the United States and our allies, one of the sort of great failures of American foreign policy over the course of the last 80 years, since the end of World War II, is this bizarre idea in the United States that if our allies are imperfect, somehow it makes sense to abandon them. This is what we did in Vietnam. Our allies were imperfect, so we abandoned them, and then the Viet Cong took over. The same thing happened in Afghanistan. Our allies were seriously imperfect. And when I say imperfect, I mean there were a lot of terrible people involved in the Northern Alliance and then in the government in Afghanistan. Tremendous corruption. And also, it turns out that the people on the other side were significantly worse. And so in determining what's happening in Russia, Ukraine, and what should happen next, the question is less whether Ukraine is perfect. It certainly is not. And the question is much more, what exactly does Russia want? What is in America's interest? And I can tell you this, what is not in America's interest is a growing, more powerful Russia. Because in determining how to negotiate an end to the Russia-Ukraine war that originally broke out in 2014 with the Russian takeover of Donbass and Crimea, and then was reignited by the full-scale Russian invasion of 2022, it's not enough to try to figure out what the quote-unquote rational middle ground looks like. That feels like what the Trump administration is trying to do. Find a solution. Well, I mean, you can find a solution, but unless you have a way to actually implement the solution, any solution that you propose.
Well, the way to implement it would be a DMZ patrolled by European countries. That's if Russia is willing to agree to something. We don't even know.
Is meaningless. No matter how hard you try, you cannot impose this solution from the outside.
But I think Shapiro, he's sensing this isolationist approach from the United States, and so that's why he wants the United States to support Ukraine in this. He's like, well, we need to support our allies. He can sense that the United States might abandon Israel. He doesn't want it to happen. So he's like, well, no, we need to still support. But also he got an interview with Zelensky. You get an interview, you get certain amount of views, you become more favorable to somebody if they give you an interview.
In the way that the United States would if, for example, we had boots on the ground. And we don't want to have boots on the ground. And that means somehow you have to get the Russians to the table. Both sides need to be at the table. The Ukrainians are at the table. The Russians are not at the table. Now, we are not the dominant force in the region, nor do we want to be. However, the Ukrainians being at the table means that it's now time for the Russians to come to the table. So how do you get them to the table? And Vladimir Zelensky.
Yeah, that's a good question. Why would Russia stop the attack when they know escalation isn't likely? Well, I'm not sure where their military currently is at. I mean, what is Russia's actual goal relative to the amount they've expended on this war? That's really what it comes down to. And you could, the other thing is, it's like they're trying to get as much as humanly possible before. It's like they're trying to get as much as humanly possible without angering NATO too much. And then reaching some type of peace settlement. I would say maybe that's what it is. But I mean, even like you look at Russia's right now, you look at Russia, it's not like they're picking up massive swaths of land in the past few weeks. You know, they're still at around 20% of the country, which is where they've been for several months now. Maybe like a year.
Ukrainians want. They want the Russians to stop the war. The Ukrainians did not, in fact, start this war. They did not cross a Russian border. They want security guarantees, more durable security guarantees than the ones they gave in 1994 to give up their nuclear weapons. The Ukrainians want security guarantees that are material realities, not just promises. Again, the Ukrainians have already figured out.
That's because that 94 agreement, and they got screwed on that agreement, but there was no actual stated, like, entrenched law that if they give up their nuclear weapons, the West would protect them. It was like a handshake agreement. So obviously they want something more than that. But this is all a European thing where European countries are going to have to have the security assurances. And that's really what Trump has said. And I think Ukraine is okay with that, honestly.
That European and American promises tend to fade over time. They gave up their own nuclear weapons for a promise that the US and UK would respect Ukrainian territorial sovereignty, and it didn't work out for them very well. The Ukrainians want the freedom to pursue a closer relationship with the EU and NATO. Again, that makes sense because, again, the Russians continue to press, so the Ukrainians want to press back the other way. What Vladimir Zelensky basically wants here is what happened at the end of the Korean War. An armistice. In 1953, South Korea and North Korea, the two sides, they drew a demilitarized zone. They agreed to cessation of hostilities and repatriation of POWs, and then the war ended. Now, officially, the war is still happening, okay? But in practice, the war ended because North Korea understands that if it walks over the South Korean border, it will be obliterated. Partially, by the way, because American troops are stationed on that border. Now, the Ukrainians are not asking for American troops stationed on their border. They want security guarantees. They want probably some European force. We know what the Ukrainians want. We know what they want. They're ready for an armistice today. They're at the table. The real question in all of this, the question that people do not want to ask because they don't like the answer, is what exactly do the Russians want? What would get the Russians to the table?
Remember the World War I armistice? But, yeah, no, it is true that Russia, right now, they're not really negotiating. They're being very coy. And so does Trump have to pressure Russia more to get them to the negotiating table? That's the question. Ben's Israel first. Well, yeah, and I think he understands and realizes there's a lot of people in the United States that are developing this isolationist mentality, and he wants it to be nipped in the butt. He wants the support for the allies. And so he wants support for Ukraine. This dude like waved a flag or something, and then this lady's like, "That's so racist. Are we ashamed to be English?" This is like a 2017 headline. Like, we're still doing this. Your country's been invaded like the past 30 years. Oh, but we're ashamed. India and Pakistan rioting across the cities in England. That's unbelievable. Yeah. Well, that's what immigration will get you, honestly. The longer this goes on, the longer it appears Russia doesn't want to play ball. Seems like all or nothing going on here. Well, I mean, well then what happens? The United States leaves the talks altogether and it becomes a EU and Ukraine versus Russia conflict. I mean, it seems like the EU is really trying to be more aggressive. Now, I don't know if that's just posturing because they are confident there's going to be a peace deal or what. But it definitely seems like they're getting more and more aggressive. Which is understandable. I mean, the EU has their own priorities, absolutely. You know, I've never criticized the EU necessarily for how they act. The problem is when they lump the United States in, and that's what NATO is, unfortunately. It's hard to have an alliance like that and to be so together when you look at the geographical location of the United States. And that's what Trump has said. He has the awareness to realize that we're not in a position to where we are all that concerned about what Russia is doing, trying to take over 1/6 or 1/5 of Ukraine. Because I mean, and people in the comments are saying, "Well, what if they're more aggressive?" Well, I mean, they've been stuck. I feel like, has there been really any huge territorial advances by the Russians into Ukraine in the past like year and a half? I feel like no. They've kind of always been around that 20%, 19% of territory. And that's what would be annexed. It's the 4 oblasts, and then the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant would be manned by the United States as part of a neutrality agreement, and it would supply power, and that would be part of another. We're going to have like an energy deal with Russia, apparently. That's potentially happening as well if this all goes through. I mean, this was Trump's 7-point plan that got released this past week, and they're really trying to nail it down. Thoughts on Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones doing a podcast? Odd how when Fuentes was hammering into Vance and Israel, Alex cut him off. Well, come on, man. No, I mean, I liked watching that. I thought it was good. But I mean, like, dude, like this groper narrative against Alex is just annoying. I like Alex. What about Macron's husband? Well, ask Candace Owens what happened with that. She said that she got a cease and desist from France about it, but I don't know what happened with it. She said she was doing a 17-part series or something. Seems like Russia won't stop until the old Soviet Union is reformed. Well, how do they possibly do that? They don't have the capacity to do that, I don't believe. I mean, look at their GDP. Isn't Russia's GDP lower than Canada's? I mean, GDP isn't everything. They have a bunch of natural resources, but still, having a ton of natural resources doesn't matter if you don't have access to them or you can't mine all of them. And Russia's a big country. U.S. needs to stay in NATO as leverage for trade talks. Yeah, I agree. I think you can't leave NATO and get nothing for it. NATO, these European countries are so tethered to the United States and our dominance. You know, if we were to leave NATO, there would have to be something we would be getting for it. Essentially, if we're leaving, we can tell the European countries, well, we'll stay in, but you have to give us X, Y, and Z. Or we're going to... The problem with leaving NATO, and this is where it gets kind of murky, I was told that Trump can unilaterally leave NATO, but then someone said, well, no, Marco Rubio signed something into law to where Trump can't do it, and he needs Congress to leave NATO. But I think that's disputed. I don't think that's true. They're like, oh, but Marco Rubio signed something to where now, if we want to leave NATO, it has to go through Congress. The media is hating JD. Oh, JD Vance. JD Vance, I think, he's the runaway favorite for 2028, but it's just too early to even talk about it. But I mean, Vance is making a lot of appearances, doing a lot of speaking events. Any news on India, Pakistan? I'll look into that. There's really no. I'll probably just talk about that during my live streams. Unless it gets really escalated, I'm probably not going to do a specific video on that. I don't think it would do well in terms of views. It wouldn't, because the United States doesn't have like direct involvement in it one way or another. Would it be so bad if we just backed out entirely from all these wars, let Europe handle it? Well, I mean, there's really only one European situation going on right now. The other wars are Middle Eastern affairs. Canada and the U.S. have no business being in NATO in the 21st century. Well, yeah, that's the problem. When you sign an agreement like that in 1949 and 1950 with the Soviet Union having so much control of Eastern Europe, you could understand it. Now it doesn't make sense. They really should have been way more proactive about that. Really, after the fall of the Soviet Union, that should have triggered the release of that agreement. Or at least it should have been restructured in a way that doesn't tether the United States to a lot of these European countries. Because now you've got countries like Finland joining and all this. We don't want to make it to where, and I understand, I get why smaller countries join it, because the idea is it's a deterrent. If you invade Finland, you're basically going to war with the United States. Countries are probably not going to do that. But it's a very fine line, because you're basically saying if there's a NATO country that gets invaded, it's going to be World War III. That's if the country that does the invading has proper allies. Maybe they'll just get destroyed completely. I don't know. But like the stream. Yeah, guys, like the stream, please. Let Putin take Europe. He's not capable of taking Europe. They don't have the military to do it. Nuking would just cause global catastrophe. You don't really know. I can't say, oh, Putin's definitely not going to drop a nuke. I mean, but it seems extremely unlikely unless he's really up against it. And I don't think it would ever be a place to where there would be an invasion of Russia. You really just can't do it because they just have too much of a nuclear arsenal. Explain to these let's leave NATO morons why we shouldn't leave NATO. Well, if we were to leave NATO, it would be an extremely positive thing for Russia, and we don't necessarily want to rebalance Europe and give Russia that much power for nothing in return. But I think a weaning process to where leaving NATO may be in the United States' best interest in the future. But right now, especially, like, there's no way I would leave NATO when we're about to do a peace deal, or we're trying to do a peace deal. We're already having problems getting Russia to come to the table. One of the big deterrents of Russia invading further is NATO. Why would we leave right now when Russia's this aggressive and they're not coming to the table? We need to get Russia to the table through some type of soft threat, or just them getting as much land as they think they can get, and then coming to negotiate with us. The goal is to get Russia to the table. And right now, it seems like it's a little bit challenging. And that's why Trump's putting out all these statements. I mean, this is like his third statement against... Like, look at this. Abraham Lincoln with a COVID mask. Is this photoshopped or something? You know what? I don't think it is. They used to do this. They used to put the COVID masks on the statues. This lady is obstructing federal agents from being able to locate an illegal immigrant. And they're like, oh, it's fascism. You're arresting judges. Well, yeah, there's a good reason. And I don't even think they can use that. Like, I wonder if they're still trying to use that whole talking point narrative. You're arresting judges. Well, yeah, she's committing crimes. What do you expect? Thoughts on Crypto Pump? I'm excited for the DeepSeek release, and I think I'm going to make... But listen, I think crypto is going to be in a much better place, and it's starting to turn around, you can tell. But you're looking at, like, the fall is going to be amazing. The early winter is going to be really good. NATO had a good purpose after World War II, but ran its course and actually has been hurtful in pushing future conflict that would lead to another world war. Well, that's definitely the Russian perspective in terms of the encroachment. And I can understand that. Yeah, they're just all talking about the meeting. Trump questions Putin's desire for peace after meeting with Zelensky. This is what I reacted to today in my video. Nobody's talking about stocks now that they've been up for a week and a half. Yeah, I made a mention of stocks and when I was doing see, this is a 3-month period, but you're right, the past week they've been very solid. Tesla 18.5% increase. You know, the volatility in the market's going to continue until these trade deals get worked out. But you would figure there's just so much bullish news in the pipeline. It's not even funny. I know, but people are probably frustrated. I keep saying that. But as long as these deals happen, this is as choppy as it should get, unless there's like global conflict. I mean, we don't know. But even that, it's like Trump is trying to end all of it. So if he's able to end some of these conflicts and you get these negotiated trade deals, and you get in a trade deal with China, and you're getting the lower interest rates. I mean, this is all really, really positive stuff. What do you think of Candace Owens accusing Trump of attacking free speech? Well, it was people on visas. These are not citizens. They're here temporarily. Look, I don't think it's a good thing. It's a slippery slope. He shouldn't do it. But those are people that were here temporarily, and, you know, the Israeli lobby is very powerful, and they wanted them out. That's all I can say on that. What do you think of your Browns taking Shador? It's a charade. It's like Manziel 2.0. But the thing is, they took 2 quarterbacks, and they took a quarterback in the 3rd round, Dylan Gabriel. So now they got a Shador, Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, and Joe Flacco. It's a mess, the Browns. They're going to have to tank next year and take a quarterback in the top 5. You know, they got another first-round pick. They got the Jaguars' first-round pick. They could have taken Travis Hunter. They didn't do it. They traded back. I don't know. I mean, the Browns are just... They need a quarterback. And they still have that terrible Deshaun Watson contract. He's not going to be playing another down. When you have a contract like that, your franchise is cooked for like 4 years. There's no way to get around it. I mean, the amount of guaranteed money. The thing with the Deshaun Watson deal, if they would have cut him, it would be even more money they would have eaten. The whole El Salvador illegal immigrant news can be used as ammo in 2026 midterms and by 2028 Republicans if they play their cards right. I know. Well, there was immediate negative reaction I saw in terms of polling on immigration for Trump, but I do think you're right. Long term, that's a positive story for Trump and Republicans. You know, that's a gang member, or that's someone that shouldn't be in the country. You want to say, well, they made a mistake in terms of the country they deported him to. They're making it out like this is just some random dude they saw with a tattoo and said, you look Mexican, we're deporting you. And we're, like, that's what the media made it out to be. That's why they kept calling him a Maryland man. But it's not like that at all. If you know, once you get people to understand, I mean, there's like this hysteria thing that kind of brought Trump's immigration approval down because of it. But it's not going to last. It's a short-term thing. It's response bias. Play the video of the prank call. Yeah, the prank call was, I mean, I don't even know how they got his number. He said like he used a different phone.
Hey, is this Shapiro? This is Mickey Loomis here, the GM of the New Orleans Saints. How you doing? This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
How you doing?
Good, how are you, man?
Good, they were waiting on you.
Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man. We're gonna take you with our next pick right here, man. Hey, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, man. Sorry about that.
Dude's like, what the fuck?
What does that mean?
What? What did he say?
I don't know.
How you gonna ask us what it mean and you was on the phone?
You heard that?
He said you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer.
Sorry about that.
Why would
What the fuck?
hey, that's
I don't know what that was. It's 50-50. But nobody got this number though.
It was private.
But you could barely hear what he was saying. Unbiased, how do you rate Trump's administration so far? I mean, it's like a B minus. Look, there's no grade for Trump right now. It's impossible to grade. There's not enough things that have happened. There's been positive steps in terms of immigration numbers, and then they criticize Trump and say, well, there's not enough deportations and all this. Look, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be problems in certain areas, but and then they say, well, DOGE didn't do enough. I mean, you know, I am disappointed in DOGE. I think DOGE is kind of, it's hard to really be optimistic. DOGE did some good things. They got rid of U.S. aid. Do you guys think that's good enough with DOGE? I mean, that's only $20 billion, though. Maybe if they do the insider stock trading, maybe that'll be good. But I don't know. It's just... People were raging so hard about the prank call. I mean, it is crazy that he even got that number. Apparently, they give out, like, special phone numbers to each player, like new phones. And they're the only... It's like they give them out a day before. So it's not even like it's his actual phone number that got leaked. It's like a special phone number. Oh, that's nice. The gender of a baby here, the Peppa Pig girl. Well, at least it's not a trans. Yeah, Trump's starting to deport people, it looks like. He's going to have to deport him to Rwanda, apparently. Yeah, I heard about that rumor. The Giants' GM daughter goes to Ole Miss. That's who it was. It's possible. I don't know. You wish DOGE would keep going longer. I think they are still going until 2026. Like mid-2026. What's the plan going forward with DOGE? I think they're still going to be in operation until mid-2026 is what I heard, but Musk is taking a step back starting next month or in 2 months in the summer. Bronny should have retired after cardiac arrest. Yeah, but that was a really messed up situation. He never should have been picked. His dad basically forced him to the Lakers. He was not even close to ready. And so, like, he really does look like it's like one of those movies to where it doesn't even look like he's grown enough to be able to play in the NBA, Bronny. Like, he just doesn't look developed enough. Like, his body it looks like he's a high schooler. It's hard to explain with Bronny, but it's like, but LeBron obviously wanted to play with him. He should have just waited another year for him to develop more, I guess. Shador should have known it wasn't the Saints GM by the voice. It sounds nothing like Mickey Loon. Yeah, but I mean, at that point, it's kind of like you figure if it's a brand new number that the NFL gives you, it's kind of impossible for it to get leaked. But I wonder how well they timed it. Like, were the Saints on the clock? And then they probably were. They're probably on the clock with like 8 minutes left in terms of the pick. Because everyone thought he could have gone to the Saints. What was that, like the 9th pick? DOGE promised $2 trillion in cut. Well, no, they promised $1 trillion this is what happened. They promised $1 trillion, and then Trump said he was going to save another $1 trillion or generate another $1 trillion in revenue somehow, possibly through tariffs. Obviously, neither of those things are happening. We understand this. It was a very ambitious plan. You were never going to come close to generating $1 trillion in tariff money at all. It's insane. But in terms of them cutting $1 trillion, I mean, it would have to be through incentive. It'd have to be through entitlements and Pentagon. You do a great job with your channel. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Did you hear about Virginia Roberts, the Epstein victim? Crazy. Yeah, they called it a suicide. It's just insane how that keeps happening. Yeah, this is cultural safety when this happens. You live in a good suburb, you'll get stuff like this. Coolest biblical name, Jeremiah. Man, these Yale polls are so dumb. They poll like 10 kids. They're like, oh, look at the Yale poll. Like, who else is just like, is this just based off of Yale, or is it like, is this like nationwide? Congressional ballot for young people. %, what, pass rate with the Chicago schools? I mean, it's not surprising. It's disappointing, but it's not surprising. Browns could get Colin Kaepernick. Did you see Kaepernick wanted to make another comeback? The dude's 40 at this point. Yeah, it's at this point, it's just trying to keep his name in the news. That's all it is. You think the bull run happens in the summer instead of the winter? Well, I mean, it would happen more so in the fall, actually, rather than either of them. But it already is, well, I guess it's still spring. Yeah, I would classify like June, July, August as the summer, honestly. You like late May is probably this is what I would say the summer is. Think about this. May 20th is the start of summer. This is not like the actual official, but May 20th through September 1st. But even in September, it's really warm. It's really hot in September. Leftists crying about Trump saying homelanders are next when he's talking about violent Americans. I know that's why it's why he mentioned homeland. He's talking about Americans that were violent and potentially could be sent away. But I mean, like, all of this is so, you're talking about violent criminals. Do they really think that's a winning issue to go up against that? Yeah, here she is getting arrested. That judge. Stock market goes up as each major tariff deal gets made? Probably, but to the degree, I don't know. I mean, it's bullish news either way. Do you know a YouTuber called Matt Morse TV? You should probably do a collab with him next. You like hearing his insights? I've never heard of him, but I'll look him up. When the Twin Towers were hit, were the South Tower elevators still working? You mean when the South Tower got hit? I mean, I believe the elevators pretty much immediately malfunctioned. I mean, some lower level service elevators potentially could be working, but there was power problems within the Twin Towers, and a lot of the elevators I mean, the people said they reported hearing bombs. A lot of it was the elevator shafts falling to the bottom and just thudding. Colin Kaepernick in his prime was a mediocre NFL QB. Yeah, he had like he had a really good playoff run, Kaepernick did. And then he had like, I think maybe two decent years. I mean, he was a pretty good dual threat. He had really long strides, but he just had like 2 good years and then he really fell off. But then, became the thing with him kneeling, and the guy's like a backup quarterback. No team is going to take him on as a backup quarterback. He's not even a starter, and then you have to deal with all the media circus. There's just it's a risk assessment. It's a cost assessment. It's not going to happen. There's no point. Sometimes May, September, and maybe even October can be put into summer. Man, if October to me is never summer ever. But I mean, it depends what type of climate you're in. If you're see, the thing is I'll get all 4 seasons. So, and I love October. I think October is a great time. Not too big of a fan of the summer, honestly. I mean, I guess maybe if I changed my lifestyle, I would be more of a fan of the summer. Just depends, but you have Israel derangement syndrome, Tim Pool, Shapiro. Is that what he coined the phrase, Israel derangement syndrome? Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some people that go crazy with it and say that Israel runs everything, which I don't believe. I mean, how can I believe that if we're seeing certain things where Trump is going against Netanyahu? How do you have only 500 people watching your stream but have 280K subs, or are all those subs election campaign subs who only watch during the election? No, that's not how it works. I mean, dude, like the thing is, you cannot base views or watch like live streams off of sub counts, because like think about the amount of subs that I got off of March Madness, off of stadiums, off of 9/11. Well, that's just the beginning of it, but it's just like you can't say, well, just because I have like 200K subs, I'm immediately like guaranteed 2,000 people to watch my live streams. It's not how it works. It's a lot different than that. But I mean, it's a combination. But with my channel, there was really no niche of political stuff. So there's a lot of people that were subscribed to me for other things that are probably inactive subscribers at this point, it's unfortunate, but there's really nothing I can do about it. It helps because you have more subscribers, but obviously you want to get as many views as possible. What is Tim Pool hiding under his beanie? Yeah, he needs to take that off, and they were like pissed off because he wore it into the press room. It's just, I don't know. Remember when RG3 was the hot thing? Yeah, for a year. Well, he got run into the ground. They're just completely already injured, and did he tear his ACL in that playoff game? You're in Texas, hate how hot how hot it gets for Halloween. Yeah, that's terrible. If you're in Texas, it's probably brutal. It's probably in the 80s going into November. Maybe unused YouTube account. Oh yeah, inactive accounts, 100%. Because they're not really gonna, there's people that have an account and then they'll make another account, so the one's inactive, but it's still subscribed to me. I mean, there's a number of things that are at play in terms of like interaction and things like that. Hope you have a great afternoon. I appreciate that. It's actually nighttime here. It's about 7:50, it's about 8 o'clock basically. Tim Pool hiding a bald dome under that beanie makes him look old. Yeah, I mean, he should just decide to get a transplant, because he could probably he could hide the transplant while it grows in too. under his beanie, considering he already wears it. But I don't know. Maybe he can't do that. Alex Jones is scared to talk about the Jews. I mean, Alex lets Fuentes on. He lets people on to talk about it. I don't know what you think. I mean, I get people are mad. He calls them globalists and stuff, but yeah, I'll look at Polymarket. I don't know, man. There's been a lot of just. I want to see if there's like a deep seek thing on Polymarket. Carney's at 77. He's kind of stabilized, it looks like. Yeah, he was up to 85. He's at 77, so he lost around 8 points the past week. But still, it's a heavy lead for Carney in terms of that. U.S. recession, 25% chance. India invade Pakistan before July, 20% chance. I mean, it's impossible to predict something like that. There's so many geopolitical factors. Summers are brutal in Texas. Yeah, I've been told they're really bad. I mean, especially in Houston, because you get humidity as well. You know, at least when you go to the desert, you get just dry heat. Like Vegas, it's real dry. It'll be 115, but it's so dry, it'll feel worse. We get humidity here in Ohio. We get bad humidity. You get bad humidity in Florida as well. Crazy how quick Ohio and Florida shifted to red. Pennsylvania might be next. Look at voter registration. Yeah, I mean, voter registration in Pennsylvania continues to get better and better and better and better. Really, since like 2021, it just keeps moving in a great positive direction. Yeah, if you could get some breathing room with Pennsylvania, it would be insane. I mean, it's like a cheat code if you get Pennsylvania, because then they really have to. Then they would have to take both North Carolina and Georgia. They already think they're getting Georgia. We'll see, but. Sun goes down at 10 o'clock where you're from. Fuck 4 p.m. winter. Sunsets. Yeah, well, Trump's trying to change that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I do think he probably will change it. It seems like it's likely. It's part of their government efficiency program because apparently it costs money to change the clocks twice each year. So it's, you know, I actually think it probably is for the best. I mean, even if we get like a 6 o'clock sunset in the winter, that's so much better than 5. I mean, it just seems logical to do it, even though you're going to get really dark mornings. Florida became a red state as soon as DeSantis got in and cleaned up the election infrastructure. They really do run amazing elections in Florida, but it's also the COVID stuff. DeSantis did do, you have to give DeSantis credit for shifting Florida as much as it did. I mean, that was a bastion for people to move to Florida because of the COVID restrictions in other states. Is there some DeepSeek news? They're releasing their new model. You're probably going to hear, I mean, I don't know, maybe you won't, but DeepSeek is releasing their biggest model since the whole thing happened in January when they released their first model. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is what we're waiting for, this R2. Mm-hmm. Why does Nevada take so long to count? Don't they have near the same population as Arizona? Yeah, well, Nevada, their votes come in late because they're West Coast, so that might be part of it. But yeah, they did take they took them like a day to call that for Trump. I don't know, man. I think it's based, you know, they want to keep it to where they give these states rights. I mean, it's important with us being like a federation. each state has individual rights in terms of the way they count votes, but I think it's like there's got to be a federal thing that comes out because it's just so bad. Any news on GDP or inflation rates? No, there's not going to be any inflation numbers or the inflation updates come on the 10th of every month, and the next Fed meeting is the 9th of May, which they're not going to change anything. I can pretty much guarantee it. Sweden was the world's safe haven from COVID lockdowns, and that's a far left country, yet they kept themselves open. Yeah, but they're also a smaller population as well. I mean, there's definitely different ways you could attack it. Obviously, the way that China attacked it was very poor. Well, China has just huge population centers, so it's harder. China had a weird, like, delayed reaction to it, where they didn't implement their zero COVID until, I think, 2022, or like late 2021. Grok 4 coming? No, they haven't released a 3.5. I don't know if there's even a market for 4. This is so stupid. The best AI model. How do you even determine it? It's just like Google has the best AI model based off of what? Like, they always have that stuff on here. But yeah, Grok 4 is probably coming out sometime in the fall, I would say. Maybe like September. Arizona took forever too. Yeah, Arizona got to 50% done, and then Arizona was at 50%, like an initial drop. I don't know if it was early voting or whatever, but Arizona's always had problems, remember? With Kerry Lake and the midterm races. The whale enters. What's up, man? How was your weekend? My weekend's pretty low-key, honestly. It's not too bad. Just... It's been very overcast. Yesterday was raining a lot. Today it's just overcast. So it's nice. There's a lot of natural light pouring in right now. Don't have to deal with the sun. But it was really, it was very humid yesterday. Very humid. It's 73 degrees, but extremely humid because of the rain. And then it started downpouring at night real bad. But then today it's just this overcast. It's a typical like mid-April day. But it's like in the 50s right now. Say happy birthday to Melania Trump. Well, happy birthday. Maybe she could suck all the liquidity out of her meme coin. What a joke that meme coin was. But Melania Trump, happy birthday. Remember when the media was trying to sell China as a leader in fighting COVID and told us 100% believed that China only had 85K COVID cases and fucking it? Well, no, China just stopped reporting their numbers. It was insane. I remember in 2020, I was looking at, people probably remember this website. No, but it's like there was a website specifically for the numbers tracking it. And, I was looking at China because they were patient zero. And they just stopped. It said they had 0 cases reported in like March of like March 10th or like March 20th of 2020. 0 cases. No, they stopped reporting. But that's what they do with their economy as well. Nobody knows exactly. They have terrible, and this has been going on for a while with China, horrible youth unemployment. And it got so bad in 2023, it was like 24%. They said, we're not reporting it anymore. So now they don't even report it. They didn't report any numbers on youth unemployment in 2024. If they get bad data, that's why people are like, well, China's collapsing, this, that. Nobody really knows. We're just getting horrible data from China constantly. When it comes to their economy and their numbers. Prediction for Will Howard NFL career? I mean, he's a backup, man. The 6th-round pick, backup type. He's a gamer. He could be a decent backup veteran presence. That's what I would say about him. Wow, that's a big win for the Nuggets. They needed to win that game. That series is probably going 7. Oh, here it is. The total number of seats. Oh, this is margin. That's retardio. Elon out of the Trump administration before July. I would say, I mean, what is it? You'd have to define out of the administration. They said he's taking a step back. I don't know if that means he's out of the administration. Why didn't you stream yesterday? Because it's, I'm not gonna be able to stream every day, man, honestly. Mel Kiper is the worst. Mel Kiper is just complete. So Mel Kiper was either paid by Dion's camp, because we know they have money. I think he was paid by Dion's camp. There's no way you're this much of a shill for a player. Mel Kiper was in tears, and he's doing this soft like manipulation where he's like hinting at the NFL being racist and owners being racist and all this. He's like, I can't believe how this happens. I've never seen this before. They don't know how to judge quarterbacks. Like, Mel Kiper is having a breakdown. And this has happened for like all 3 days of the draft. He's having these breakdowns where he just can't understand how Shapiro Sanders falls to the 5th round or whatever it is, and then my Browns take him. They said Howard's knee is bad. Will Howard has a knee problem? You have a computer science degree and making a good living as a construction worker. Well, there's so many cases like that where you get a degree in one field and then you never end up using it. But you're in construction. That's a very rare field. Nowadays, the amount of construction workers is decreasing significantly. I saw for every 50 construction workers that retire, there's only about 7 of them that can fill it. So in terms of carpenters and construction in general, it seems like that's going to be a pretty premium position to have. It doesn't seem like many people are going into that. And this is what happens. We all want to be inside. We all, this is how things shift in terms of, I mean, I think being outside is important. I had a job when I was younger at a greenhouse, and it was actually kind of enjoyable at certain times because you're outside constantly. There's an enjoyment to it. I'm not saying it was a good job or I would stay there or anything like that, but there is a little bit of an enjoyment to being outside. Reports are saying Carney won't even sit a day in Parliament if he loses and will just go back to Europe or New York. Oh, dude, that's a globalist 101. How do you vote for someone like that? He's like a 5-year-old kid. If he loses, he just leaves. Do you ever kick yourself for not investing into the Trump coin when it came out? I mean, what happened when it came out, I was streaming. And somebody told me it came out, but I didn't believe them at first. And about 30 minutes later, because at that point it was probably like $1. But then 30 minutes later, they're like, no, it came out. Seriously, look at his Truth Social. And so when I first saw it, it was at $3. So, if I would have bought it at $3, but at that point, people were like, well, it's a hack. There's no way it's real. If I would have bought it at $3, yeah, you could have made a good 30x off of that. Well, no, you wouldn't have made a 30x. You could make a good 22x, 23x off of that at $3. But, it's whatever. I mean, I was streaming. I'm not going to... If I wasn't streaming, would I have bought? I mean, yeah, I do kind of FOMO into things like that, and it probably would have worked out. But it's not a big deal. Grant Cardone said middle-class people are poor people who think they're rich. You agree with him that some, not all middle-class people like to act like they're rich when they're not? I mean, do we really need to criticize middle-class people at this point? And it's like, I don't really notice that to the degree to where, oh my God, a billionaire set, it's like... middle class people act that they're rich. I mean, there's always going to be some of that where people maybe buy stuff if they get a new job and they live beyond their means a little bit. That's going to happen. Your Browns will be a circus with Sanders. Yeah, I mean, this is just the same thing every year with the Browns. But remember when we had Manziel? And Manziel sucked. I think Sanders is probably going to be bad as well. But now you've got Gabriel and Sanders as two rookies. I mean, what happens? They're probably going to have to trade one of them. You're going to have two rookies competing, and one of them's third string, one of them's fourth string. The problem is most people sell before the 30x. Well, I mean, it depends how much money you have. If you invest like if I know for sure there's a Trump coin, I would have thrown 10K into it. You don't need a 30x to make massive profit. You make that 6x, you'll get 60K. Thoughts on Shador? Seems like teams just wanted no part of the circus. His talent wasn't off the charts. Yeah, I mean, so it's a combination of that, but it's just like the whole Dion thing. And the other thing with Shador is you look at his stats, his completion percentage was juiced because he took sacks rather than throwing the ball away. When you throw the ball away, it hurts your completion percentage, but it's a better, more positive play than a sack. You know, sacks don't show up in terms of the QB statistics, but they're really negative against the QB. They're hidden. So he took a ton of sacks. People say, well, that's because of his offensive line, but he held the ball a ridiculously long time. So he's just not worth it. But I didn't think he would fall that far. I thought somebody would pick him in the second round. But I mean, it's not surprising that quarterbacks do tend to have crazy drops if they're not drafted within a certain period, because if teams don't like quarterback, they're not going to take him. What is the point of getting Gabriel then passing on Sanders when you're just going to draft Sanders later? It's because the Browns owner, Jimmy Haslam, probably called in and forced them to draft Sanders because he's obsessed with moxie guys, and that's what Haslam wants. I mean, you could see Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, was not too happy about the pick of Sanders, but it was a call from Haslam, I'm guessing. That's kind of the dynamics within the Browns. It's a mess. I mean, they're trying to get a new stadium. They need to tank this next year. They have to get an actual quarterback. Get a young franchise quarterback, whether it's Arch Manning or Drew Aller. That's what they have to do. This whole thing, and then they bring Joe Flacco back like it's this. Oh, we're gonna go 10-7 again. Really, 10-7? It's useless. Just go ahead and go 2-15. I would have been fine if they would have just drafted Hunter, but I understand you want another first round pick. Now they have 2 first round picks next year. Matt Walsh even tweeted about Sanders. Well, yeah, because it becomes political and it becomes about race. Trump also talked about Sanders. I mean, it's this whole issue now. It's this issue with everyone. Oh, they're doing all the liberal Protestant, huh? Boy, it's really the base thing to be Catholic or Orthodox now, isn't it? I'm not surprised Genty went 6 overall. Running backs are really good, especially as rookies. They're really good. Yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff on the draft. There's really you're not going to get much politics on a Saturday night unless something crazy happens. But I mean, we really haven't gotten a ton of politics anyways, but this is the coin this is actually not the coin that this is not the R2 coin, but maybe I have it in here. R2. Yeah, this is a good chart, guys. This is a good chart, not financial advice. Just wait for the R2 release. Just wait for the R2 release of DeepSeek. You're probably going to hear about DeepSeek in the news. That'll be my guess next week. I know they've been saying for a while they're going to release it, but I think they're basically going to release it for sure this next week. It's their second version of the original language model that they had, DeepSeek. It was Manziel, Mayfield, now Sanders. Yeah, I mean, Mayfield had some stability, though. He did. But, they traded for Odell, and then it just became this weird thing. Odell and never really liked Baker, but Odell kind of had a weird career where he was really only good with the Giants. But Baker had some good years with the Browns. He had like 2 good years, 2 bad years. Juan, what's up, man? Mel Kiper cried about the Saints' white QB. Yeah, he's obsessed with identity, race, and all that. And Kiper's being paid by Dion. It's not good. Is that tweet from Dion that said he would have pulled an Eli Manning if he were a young QB true? Funny if it is. You've seen it everywhere today. Yeah, well, that's not the only thing. He was also talking about his son being a top 5 pick. I don't know. We'll see if I can find it. Yeah, his son seems like a spoiled brat. Yeah, this was the other thing. He'll be a top 5 pick. And then they had context to it. This was in May. This was a year ago. I mean, it was looking kind of like he was going to be a top 5 pick, and then the wheels just fell off. If he was drafted by Cleveland. Do you have audio of Trump meeting with Zelensky? Well, no, there's not going to be audio. That was a private thing. They just took photos of it. I don't know. Do we have any audio here? Melania Trump celebrates her birthday. What, is there no sound to this? Yeah, dude, they had 3 chairs there. Look at this. Look at this. They have 3 chairs. Bring in Macron, and then Trump's like, yeah, Macron's not coming. What's Zelensky's height exactly? Guys, what's Zelensky's height? If I'm not taller than Zelensky, it's an unfortunate thing. I don't know if I am. Looks like the stock market stabilized somewhat. Would this hurt chances of those interest rate cuts? No. I mean, it can stabilize. That's fine. But as long as inflation is still where it is, we should get the cuts 100%. Honestly, that may help. It may help if it stabilizes, because they're concerned that all of these tariffs will cause the inflation, and so that they don't want to cut the rates because that's also going to cause inflation. But if you can stabilize the market, and then you do the deals, so that'll limit. If you do renegotiations and take tariffs off, that's going to limit the inflationary risks of the tariffs, and so then that'll enable them, hopefully with inflation being down, to lower the rates. All right, Zelensky's 5'7". With shoes, I'm about 5'10.5". So, I don't think I would be completely mogged by Trump like Zelensky is here if I've got 2.5 inches on him. Trump is 6'4". No, Trump is, I think, 6'2.5". I would imagine Trump's accurate is about 6'2", 6'2.5". Old people shrink. But Trump's still a tall dude. There's no doubt about it. He's definitely shorter than 5'7". Dude, look at this. This is a bad angle for him, but that's a brutal angle. That's the problem when you're a guy. It's just the height is such a mog thing. Libs mad Trump wore a blue suit to Pope's funeral. Remember the tan suit? They tried making it like that. Liberals have revisionist history on Obama's tan suit. They say it's the worst thing Obama... That was the biggest scandal in his presidency. The blue suit is Trump's biggest scandal. Oh my goodness, guys. Will Trump make Ludnick Federal Reserve Chair if he can get Powell out? It's probably not a good idea. You don't want the administration controlling rates. But I mean, I think Powell has done some things that show that he's anti-Trump, and that's an issue. But Trump's been a lot more nice to Powell the past week. So I think he knows Trump cannot have the authority to get him out. I think Congress has to, but he can just recommend that Powell gets removed. I don't know. It's a bit of a gray area. Macron gets told to fuck off. Yeah, they set up 3 chairs and then they're like, oh, you're gonna have to move that chair. You're gonna have to, and then that's like a timeout. That's a timeout right there. Macron is 5'10". Yeah. I mean, it looks legit. It looks like Trump might be leaning in a little bit. I don't know. If you're below 5'8", life's extra hard. Well, it just pertains to guys, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what the cutoff is in terms of, obviously every guy wants to be like 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", basically. 5'11's fine. My height, I think, is for the most part fine. I mean, you could already say it's slightly short, but 5'9", 5'10's not bad. You get to 5'7", I think you get into a range where it becomes an issue for a guy. Your local GOP says they will support Trump 2028. Dude, what are you like? Are you like a community leader? Are you the leader of your community GOP? Well, listen. Did you buy the hat? Did you buy the hat? I mean, that's the thing. I wasn't streaming the past few days. They put out a hat. I don't know if you saw. I'm sure you saw that. You probably bought the whole fucking. Probably got like 4 boxes. That'd be my guess. Candace Owens, Tim Dillon, yeah, sick of it with those two. But what's with the like? This is it. It's the Israel grift combined with the comedian grift. But imagine Tim Dillon with Andrew Schultz. That's nightmare fuel, man. Talking politics. Oh, you get these comedians. They all talk politics now. Your 5'9" is now as well. Well, you're 5'9" without shoes. That's not bad. You bought 4 hats. I'm surprised you went that light. I thought it would be more than 4 hats. But yeah, I mean, he did come out with him. It was a troll. Most men are 5'9" to 6 foot. The average height, I think, for a male in the United States is 5'8". Or maybe that's worldwide. Because in China, they're a lot shorter, and in the Asian countries, they're shorter. Joe Rogan is 5'8". No, I think Rogan's about 5'6", and he says he's 5'7.5", but I don't know exactly. $5'10", that's a good height. 6 foot without shoes. Yeah, man. Are you still gonna talk politics after Trump is gone? Well, I mean, I that's so far away from here, but I would imagine my career progressed certainly, but I don't know exactly what's gonna happen. I mean, Trump is still, we're like 6% of the way through his presidency right now. So it's going to be a bit of a ways. Men in U.S. 5'9" average. Yeah, that makes sense. Imagine being 6'9". Yeah, but that gets too tall. Women don't really like it. It depends, but you want to be like 6'3". 6'3" to me is honestly, if I had to pick a height, I might just pick 6 foot even, because I don't really want to be that tall. I mean, obviously you'll take a few inches. No homo. You take a few here or there, but he mentioned something. If my hands are small, then something else is small. I guarantee you there's no problem. 5'10's a solid height overall for men. It's the best height for a fighter. 5'10", there's nothing wrong with that. Barefoot 5'10 is a solid height. Yeah, once you get above 6'6", I think it becomes a problem. Well, they just assume you're a basketball player. That's the problem. Yeah, and there's too much attention to you. And wasn't Barron Trump like 6'7"? I think. Well, Barron Trump has the like Greek type, old school Roman build. What is he like? 6'7"? What is Barron? 6'7", 6'8"? I would be okay taking a few inches. I guarantee you there's no problem there. There's no problem. When you play basketball, 5'6" or 6'5", 6'6" was the average, and 6'2", 6'3" was short. Yeah, well, where do you play in the fucking NBA? Where'd you play basketball, man? But no, in the NBA, yeah, if you're 6'2", that's like a short guard. Like Kyrie Irving 6'3", and look at how short he looks compared to other players. It's like insane how tall basketball players are. Mike Tyson is 5'10". Many old matches lied about his height for whatever reason, said he was taller, probably a bit shorter now with age. Yeah, you do shrink as you get older. Trump ran into that problem, and liberals are trying to like attack Trump. He's not 6'3". Well, yeah, everybody knows when you get older, you do shrink by like an inch. That's a serious thing, like half an inch. Barron is 6'11". I thought he was like 6'7". Trump was criticized for wearing a blue suit. He's wearing a tan suit. How dare he? Honestly, I don't know why Obama would wear a tan suit, though. That did look bad. Look, Barron looks like a groiper. Well, he's not Indian. It's a joke. The Nuggets are about to lose. They were up by 20. I'd like to see that series go 7, honestly, man. Barron's parents gave him too much. Well, baby, Melania is tall, and obviously so is Trump, so it produces a tall child. Are you black-pilled? Is height the only thing that matters? Well, no, you got to have no. But if you're like 5'4", it's an issue. I mean, it is. There's no doubt about it. But it's not. If you're like if you're 5'9", complaining about your height, I think there's other issues going on. You can still get women easily. Watch hockey? I never watched hockey before, man. Jokic has a 31-23-8 stat line. Dude, it's insane. 31-23-8 with 8 assists. You love how the tables have turned Obama from being new, fresh, unique figure to mostly negative now. Yeah. Well, he kind of ruined himself with the 2024 election and his fake support, where he just blatantly lied about certain things, like obvious things that he just lied about. And you remember that video of him in front of all those like black dudes? He's like, as black men, we're not doing our part, because they come up with these polls and black men were like voting for Trump at a 30% rate or whatever it was. It was like a record high for a Republican for black men. And so Obama was like trying to school them. It just came off really bad and snobby. And Obama seems to be falling back. That's why this whole like Obama versus Trump matchup, Obama doesn't have the same political power that he once did. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's why I would like Trump, and I don't think it's going to happen, but BTC about to hit 95K. Yeah, dude, this is really good, especially like these deep sea coins I think are going to do very well. And my main coins like NASDAQ is doing well. What are my other coins? Fortune, it's not doing anything, but your cousin is black-pilled. Is he 5'3"? Is 2008 the closest thing we're going to get to blowout in modern elections? Yeah, well, 2008, the McCain stomping. It's hard. There's no way 2028 is going to be a crazy blowout. It's just both parties hate each other too much. You're not going to get unity in a way that produces it. Even if the Republicans won New Jersey and New Hampshire, there's certain states you're just not going to win. Like you're not going to win in New York. You're not going to win in California. You're not going to win Washington, Oregon, any of those other northeastern states. People were brainwashed in 2010s to believe Obama was the second coming of Christ. It was an interesting time because there was like, there was an influx of social media, but it still wasn't that big. And with Obama, it was the weird race thing to where if you said bad things about him, you're automatically racist. And it's like that we need a black president for the United States to heal us from our past trauma of slavery and all that. And I mean, that all played into it. McCain was just not a good candidate, though, especially to go up against someone like Obama. But I mean, that was when politics, I think, were a lot more neutered than they are now. Or it was just kind of like a milquetoast period. .58 is honestly an ideal height for life expectancy and comfort. Yeah, no, I mean, life expectancy and comfort, it's a different conversation than appearing attractive and things like that. I mean, 5'8" would be, I guess, depends. Until you get mauled by a 6'1" person. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably get mauled. I mean, if you're like 5'10" with shoes, you probably get, well, you get mauled by like a 6'3", 6'4". I mean, Zelensky gets mauled by Trump every time. It makes him look like a child. That's why height is important with presidents. That's why they're all tall. I mean, not that it matters too much. We could have a short president and really wouldn't change anything, but it is kind of funny how they're always tall. How about the Cavs? What a blowout that was. Yeah. Well, the Heat are terrible. McCain and Romney were both joke candidates. Yeah. Romney was a bit better. Just because he was younger, but both of those elections were relatively easy victories. You think 6'1" is the ideal height? I think 6 foot or 6'1". I'd probably say 6 foot for me is what I would want to be if I could choose an exact height. But I mean, you're talking about, you're talking about like an inch difference. It's a 1-point game. Carney's 5'7". Yeah, is he seriously 5'7"? Polymarket seems short as well. Clinton was second best president since '88. What, behind Trump? I mean, when you're comparing him to W, what, both of the Bushes, W and H, and Obama, Biden, Trump. After World War II, we took photos with generals in Japan to show dominance. What in terms of the height aspect of it? DeSantis, yeah, DeSantis. There's someone that was really, unfortunately, subconscious about his height, and then Trump made fun of him for it. I mean, you can't be wearing those shoes, man. The heels, that was brutal. Doug Ford trying to screw Pierre's campaign so he loses and runs for Pierre's spot. Yeah, well, Doug Ford would be the last thing that you would want as a conservative in Canada. Check Stephen A. Smith bitching about Sanders. What, he's crying racism? How is it racism when a black quarterback went first overall and there's all these black QBs now in the NFL? Would you rather be 5'8" and buff or 6'3" and skinny? 6'3". I mean, it depends how skinny you are. Are you like rail thin to where you... I was going to say something, but you know, very skinny. Or 5'8" and probably 6'3". Is Hegseth done? I don't think so. You know, they put a lot of pressure on Hegseth. You could say thin ice. I don't think he's done, though. There's been a lot of media applied pressure to him. You know, there's been good things that have come out of Hegseth. They're trying to get him for like these weird Signal things now. They're like, he messaged his mom on Signal and stuff. And it's a bunch of hit pieces. But, you know, he came out and it was against the plan of Israel to strike Iran. So that's positive. Because people were originally saying he was going to be an Israel simp, and you know, he's against that apparently. You can't buff yourself to better height. Yeah, you see the surgeries guys are getting to get like 3 inches of height, and it's just, it destroys. They have to break the bones in the legs to do it. I did a video on it a while back, like one of my story time bullshit videos. They gotta like break a bunch of bones in your body. It takes a year and a half, or in your legs, and expand them. And there's like this contraption, this cage around your legs. It's like the ultimate black pill to see that. They like can't even run after. I don't think people like Ben Shapiro and DeSantis donors pressured him to run for a nomination in 2024. DeSantis gave in to his donors' pressure. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like, you know, that's one of those things to where you have the popularity, and he was very popular at the time. So it's like with politics, you have to strike while the iron's hot. But he underestimated just the pure loyalist MAGA support. There's just way too much for him to overcome. And he also had a very bad campaign. He did not run a good campaign. But also, it's kind of impossible because DeSantis is sitting there where he doesn't want to be seen as establishment, but he also can't be like the MAGA. So what do you really, you're kind of just in no man's land. That's kind of my analysis on DeSantis' campaign. Haley ended up taking the establishment position, which did nothing for her, but people with height extension surgery are stupid and you end up with super extended chins. Well, yeah, there's no way you're going to be able to function properly after that. I mean, but that's like you're 5'3" and you can be 5'9". I mean, those are the type of people that do it. Hag said it was downing 10 Coronas. He's a party animal. Well, yeah, we've heard about that. He drinks a lot. Do you think the attacks on Hegseth, Elon, and others working for Trump as deflection? Oh, yeah, like you could argue they're deflection away from attacking Trump. But Trump is always going to get attacked heavily. You know, there's always going to be other people within cabinets that get attacked. It's not like, well, the only thing you could say is maybe the Elon element because there is a lot of people specifically protesting Elon. Now you could maybe argue it's dying down and it's just Trump because I haven't really seen many Tesla dealerships vandalized or anything like that. I mean, it was going to have to die down at some point, but yeah, I mean, that's something that is a byproduct and it helps Trump. Shields him from some criticism, I guess. Forces them to focus on other things. You have any school stories back in the day? Yeah, I'm sure I could think of some. Back in like middle school, elementary school, high school. One time, a group of students, this was like, you know, like maybe fourth or fifth grade class, there was some type of a reward for classes, and they gave to the winning class Chick-fil-A. And me, three other guys. One of the guys was one of my best friends. The other two were just these random slackers. This is like fifth grade. We went and we stole some of the Chick-fil-A. I mean, they just gave it to us. Honestly, we went up and got it. And this is when Chick-fil-A was not even popular. I mean, what year would this have been? Like it was fifth grade. But I remember that, and they made me like, you can't get detention or something. They made me write a letter or something about it. That was an interesting time when that happened. We just went up and took it. I mean, this is Chick-fil-A. They gave it to us. I don't know. It's a funny moment. Trump still simps for Israel. Let's not like people. Ludnick, Hegseth. Yeah, I don't know, man. Let's realize that Trump has kind of told Israel to fuck off. I mean, you got to admit that Trump has told Israel to fuck off recently. And so that's why the grift is stopping and drying up. But I don't know, man. I mean, the Israel stuff is always going to be there. The problem is they just control so much. Chick-fil-A has always been popular down south, at least. Yeah, no, not in Ohio. It wasn't. I mean, there was one Chick-fil-A that got put up in my city, probably back in like 2012. That's when the first one within like an hour radius of me got put up. Nuggets won. Yeah, they needed that win. I mean, that was been down 3-1. Is Trump in danger now? He's going against Israel. Well, I mean, we got to see what happens with Iran first before we say that for sure. There's commercial ads on YouTube for people to sign a petition for Trump's removal. It's irrelevant. Doesn't matter. Do you like gladiator movies? Well, wasn't there a recent gladiator movie? I didn't see the recent one. I mean, dude, I'm not even sure what you're talking about. Have you ever been in a locker room? I mean, for gym and stuff, dude, I don't know. It's a weird question, man. Muhammad, the most popular name in the capital of Norway. Well, that's because the Muslims always name their kids Muhammad no matter what. But I know I understand the point of the immigration. Yeah, I saw the stuff Trump launched 2028. Shapiro has always been full anti-Trump. Shapiro seems like the type of guy that wouldn't like Trump. A lot of it's dependent on Trump's support for Israel. If Trump doesn't turns on them, Shapiro's gonna have serious issues with Trump. But Shapiro's more of a snob who seems like he's more of like an establishment figure. Shout out from Florida. How's Florida weather, man? I've been to Florida, I think 2 times. Yeah, 2 different times. Wait, no, maybe 1 time only. You're the only person who wants Tulsi to run. I don't know, dude. I saw Tulsi had like really surprising odds for the Republican nominee. Like really good odds. She was like 12%, like in second place. It was kind of interesting to see. The Tulsi thing is like, I just can't see it in front of Vance. And would she really want to do that? Is there a loyalty built in there within the administration where she's not going to try and undercut Vance? Do you even lift, bro? Absolutely. Today was a bit humid, but with breeze, it was a nice 78. I guess it depends where you live in Florida. No, but the whole state at this point should be pretty warm. No women president. Yeah, when I was younger, I was like, "There's no way." Like, how does it? But the thing is so much of the powers are given away. The thing is with like a female president, was Biden even president? Like, who was even control? So, but I always thought like a woman president would look weird trying to lead like the military. Like, how does that work exactly? It doesn't seem very realistic. But I guess if you got someone like Biden who doesn't even do anything himself, you could have pretty much anyone lead, because it's all the powers are with checks and balances dispersed anyways to different people. After seeing Tulsi answer questions about the Signal chat, you're glad she wasn't VP pick? Yeah, she did have some tough answers. I mean, that was a tough one. That was a tough one. They had a fuck up there. So it's like you gotta try and just answer the questions and just move on. But that wasn't Tulsi's fault. Dude, Mel Kiper. Dion Sanders bought Mel Kiper this dessert as like a thank you for simping for him, his kid, the entire draft. This is sad. He's like, Dion Sanders bought me this. It's a special gift. But would Laura Trump make a good female president? It said Trump is thinking about handing MAGA to her. I don't know. I think we're a ways away from that. I thought she was going to run in Florida, but then they said no. Feminism destroyed the dating game. Well, it's just modern social media culture. It's, I mean, the problem is the dating apps. You're gonna have a very tough time. There's just no denying it. If you're a dude, the amount of men on the apps. If it was 50-50, it would still be weird because men are more likely to sleep with women below them than women are of men. So there's always going to be a skewed against men. But I mean, if it's like 70% men on these apps, it's going to be very hard to court women. Whipped cream. Dude, this dude is a weirdo, man. He's like, I'm eating this as a special celebration to Shador being drafted. Dude, I mean, it's like it just gets weird, man. I don't get the obsession with these type of comments. I don't. Literally every fan base you heard from thinks they got to steal. Well, yeah, of course. It's not too surprising. Feminism destroyed your sister. So many cases. Gen Z will have so few kids, it's not even funny. Yeah, I mean it's a lot of things combining together to have low birth rates, but it's all bad. And there's really no, I mean, how do you even stop it? I mean, even just the cost of living is a problem in terms of having kids.
We don't want. That's no good. Well, I'll be sitting
here. A little cream.
You don't want to eat it? You're not going to eat it? You can.
Well, it starts to melt and it gets all nasty. Yeah.
Dude, I'm actually hungry. That looks good. It's like peach.
Regular with
like
the red
pie.
Top. It's the charge. It's a charge. Red top.
First of all, why fat free?
I'm crazy, Lil.
Yeah.
True.
Indian and Pakistani forces are currently clashing at the border. An alarming large amount of men have an obsession with women dominating them and telling them what to do, probably worst consequence of feminism. Well, feminism, if you look at it, it's really four main waves. And the problem is it's gone so overboard. If you ask a woman, what right don't you have that you want, that you're fighting for with feminism, they can't name a single right. There's not a right. There's not. So a lot of this is like posturing. And obviously we know how unfair the job market is and everything like that. In terms of the hardest jobs, the jobs that have the highest percent chance of death, they're all heavily skewed to men. It's like 99 to 1%. All the bad jobs, all men. And so it's like, the thing is we have to embrace men and women are different. And that's just the reality. Like this whole thing of equality. Well, what does that mean if the sexes are different? And then now you've got all this transgenderism to where you can be any sex you want, and it just conflates and it becomes a big issue in society if you've got things like that, especially younger kids doing it. But I've got a video coming out maybe tomorrow on feminism. I'm just going to obliterate modern feminism in my video. Maybe tomorrow or the next day. That's 4 hours old news. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty fucking recent, bro. You're acting like it was from 2 weeks ago. 4 hours. Modern feminism let men play in women's sports. Well, I mean, that's just more of a naivety to where they just want to be acceptable to everything and they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and it ends up disenfranchising their own people. It's kind of interesting. Modern feminism makes women feel lonely and terrible when they reach their golden years. That's another issue. It's a rude awakening when you get to 40 and 50 and you have no kids. Honestly, who cares about India and Pakistan? No, I agree with you. People haven't asked me, though. People ask me about it. Is your X feed a roulette where... Yeah, dude, I don't think it'll show up. That showed up twice on here. This is because it's my desktop. I don't know why it shows up on here. It shows up when I search for something, basically. You get the adult content showing up. I don't know if you can block it or not. I guess you can, but it's like the sensitivity, but then it'll block other things that are actually just normal and say with the sensitive content. X is the new 4chan. Well, I mean, there's a lot less moderation on it for sure. So there's a lot more IG shit and stuff like that. Depends what your algorithm is. Just skip World War III, give Russia, Ukraine, give China, Taiwan, give India, Pakistan, and give us Canada. Just solved World War III. Imagine if all of those broke out at the same time. With the lawsuit, why is X still running Chen and Sharp boner pill commercials? They probably haven't gotten around to getting that stuff off, I guess, if that's still running. Yeah, 4chan is back up from what I saw. You know, they outed 4chan as like an Israeli. I don't know if it was true or not. I think it was false. They're like, oh, because it was hacked, we can now see where all the IP addresses are from, and it's like 70% of them are is from Israel. Really? Come on. Do you agree X should ban porn? Yeah, it should. I think it should be banned 100%. Especially on something like X. That seems like the most obvious one. Would you consent to give us the Northwest? We had them at one point. What are you talking about? Canada's not getting a centimeter of U.S. land. What if Hitler was part of Mossad? Well, I mean, Hitler died before 48, but... We want Greenland and Panama. Yeah, we want Greenland. I don't know about Panama. The canal zone is what we want access to, and Chinese to remove their soft power from. You're mad about Panama? You want that? You want the zone, not the country. Hitler died in Argentina. It's very unlikely. You know, you start seeing these theories and stuff, and that was a psyop when that came out. There was like, dude, these fake news fucking accounts, they just lie. They're like, well, it's been confirmed. CIA confirms Hitler was in Argentina. Nowhere did it confirm that at all. I mean, I've studied Hitler. It's very unlikely based on the situation that he made it to Argentina. It's very unlikely. Why would Goebbels kill his kids? Goebbels is Hitler's right-hand man. Why would Goebbels die if he knew that they were going to go to a safe haven in Argentina? Hitler had horrible Parkinson's. It's not. It's really bad, especially in the 40s, isn't it? Would you trade your channel for $1 million? No, there's no way. How did AOC get that big of a crowd in Idaho? Well, they bust them in from other states. And they brought them all in from California. And they look at the GPS phone tracking. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. You know how it is. It's a fluke thing. You know, this is the problem. Now all these this is the issue. The big issue. White liberals are a major problem because white liberals bring all the liberalism. You'll get these white liberals who live in these diverse communities, and it's just so much crime, and they're just like, okay, this is terrible. We want to be liberal, but we don't want to deal with these people. So then they move to white states like Boise, Idaho, like other white states, and then they bring the policies that create more diversity. Because Goebbels said living in a world without National Socialism is not worth living. Yeah, well, Hitler had the same viewpoint. They're making more illegal arrests. What does that mean? Nailed it coming from your state, Maine. Transplants can fuck off. Where are they coming into Maine from? Will the UK and Ireland wake up and have a revolution? Well, that was a big rally they had in Ireland, in Dublin. 100K, I heard. Did you cover the judge arrests? Yeah, I did a video on it. I mean, these are 100% well within the means of Kash Patel and the FBI to arrest these people. 100%. These are criminals. The one was harboring an illegal immigrant. The other one was allowing an illegal immigrant to hide in her courtroom, under her desk. They're like, honey, she's under your desk. The illegal's under your desk. Move, big girl. In the Dwight Eisenhower diary, whatever it was that he wrote during World War II, it didn't bring up Jews. Well, yeah, I mean, it was a huge war, and then the after effects that became about that. But it was a ton of, I mean, even in the starvation, the Ukrainian famine of 33, I mean, there was 3 to 10 million they projected died. They originally said it was 10 million, then there were a bunch of Marxists that brought it down to 3 million. But I mean, there were millions that died all over the place in World War II. Germans, Russians. There was just a lot of death. They come into Maine from Canada? Well, that doesn't seem to... Well, I mean, it depends the population, because Maine has a smaller population, so it could affect it. Hitler swallowed a cyanide capsule. Well, yeah, the way the Germans had the cyanide capsules, he had to bite down on it, and then he shot himself. But the point of it is you get the cyanide in your system, and then you shoot yourself to make sure you're dead. Tim Pool or Charlie Kirk? What, in a debate? World War II is a nightmare. Tens of millions died, including South Pacific and China. Yeah, there was. That's well, China went through their own civil war after, an ongoing civil war during and after World War II, and that's how Taiwan became independent. He escaped to Antarctica. They did claim territory, the Nazis did, in Antarctica, but a lot of countries did. You know, in the 30s, it was all land grabs. Are the Mets doing good? I thought I saw the Mets had a good record. You work at construction in Maine. Many of your customers are out of staters with summer homes after COVID. Yeah, Maine is probably pretty nice in the summer, but even Maine, I'm sure, gets hot. But it is very north. There's a video of a riot police doing drills in the UK with a fake rioter who was pretending to be a rioter and had a British flag on his sleeve. Do an am I gay test. I have seen people do videos on that on YouTube like a while ago. What will happen if Trump What will happen to Trump if Dems wins in 2028? Well, Trump will not have to deal with that. You know, Trump will pardon himself. The thing with Dems is they're so demented. Trump needs to be safe from that. You know, those people. I mean, most of them. Like, there's new polls that say 52% of them want Trump dead. So it's really bad with Democrats. And what's your opinion on Trump's second term? It's incomplete right now. I think Trump's done some good things. I think there's some good things coming out of the Iran situation. We'll see what happens with Ukraine, but he's definitely pushing it. You know, Trump is really now, the administration obviously has a plan. They were trying originally to do, they were playing nice with both countries, Russia and Ukraine, get the peace deal done, get a ceasefire going, and they were stalling. So Trump puts his foot down and says this needs to happen right now. So they're going for it. So I can respect that. But I mean, you know, there's been some issues with the whole DOGE stuff. I mean, DOGE did save some money, but it was a little bit short of their projected number. There's talk of them upping the military budget. You know, it stimulates economic growth. You do that, more spending. But, you know, I'm not a big fan of upping the military budget with what we're at in terms of our deficit. You could say, well, it's good debt, but there's not much good debt when you're 36 trillion, 37 trillion. I think it's like 36.9 trillion. I don't know what it is exactly. But I mean, what does it matter? The countries can't invade us. But it's more of an economic problem. $7.6 out of 10 for Trump. Any new coins you're invested into? Yeah, just this DeepSeek stuff. I was looking at some other AIs as well. I mean, I'm waiting for the GTA. The GTA stuff's got to happen. We need a trailer. I mean, this is a good looking chart, man. This is good. This is good. This is what you want to see. You get something like this. It's a good play. Both of these DeepSeek coins. Main list. Market cap. Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff is starting to pump a little bit. It's good to see. Isn't DOGE still going? Yeah, it is going. We're wondering if they're actually going to look into the Pentagon and the entitlements. DOGE didn't get in anything. That's actually wrong. They got rid of U.S. aid. There'll probably be some. No, I think the GTA trailer is confirmed for May. I'm not trying to troll people because it's you know the way they do it. If they're going to release it in October or November, it has to come in May. From what I've heard. Wheeze is still on here. Oh, good for Wheeze. Wheeze. Troll. Sick of it. Sick of seeing troll. They never looked into the gold. Yeah, the Knox coin. RIP to the Knox coin. RIP. Yep. RIP. This is what happens when you don't keep your promises. Well, they never made it to Fort Knox. What city for GTA? I think Miami. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this live stream. Gonna end it there. It's really not much going on at this point. I mean, there's like NBA playoffs, and there's just not a lot of news, honestly. They cut USAID, which is good. You guess they weren't allowed to look into the military funds, among other areas. Just seems like it fell flat. That's confirmed. They were not allowed to look into military spending. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, I'm going to be covering the Canadian election probably at 7 o'clock. Probably 7 o'clock, because that's when the votes come in and everything like that. So we'll look at that election. Eric Trump or Trump Jr.? I don't know. I liked Eric. I don't know anymore, though. Probably Eric still. When is the Canadian election happening? It's happening Monday, so 2 days from today. But I'll be seeing you guys.